Hello everyone, Lytro Storm here, and today I'm going to be covering What If Brody Survived. It came as a major shock to see Marlin acting so sinister after he seemed like a really nice guy when introduced to him, and him killing Brody set that in full swing. So today we're going to be looking at what would have happened if he didn't do that. Also, an important point to mention, this What If was suggested by a channel member, which is a big part of why I'm doing it. So if you want to see your own What If become more likely to become a video, be sure to become a channel member for only $2.99 a month. You gain access to other perks as well, such as early access to videos, exclusive posts and polls, and priority comment replies. So if you've got the money and want to support the channel, it'd be really appreciated. But anyway, let's cover this story. We open the scene where Clementine finds Marlin and Brody arguing, but this time, after Clementine asks what Brody meant by Marlin having history with Abel's group, she would be able to give the full picture. She says that Marlin gave up the twins to them, but that he was so ashamed that he didn't tell the group. Marlin nervously yells at Brody to shut up, but when she doesn't, he doesn't act on his first impulse to shut her up himself. Brody tells Clem that he was planning to give AJ and Clementine up to the Raiders next in order to make them leave. Marlin then starts raging out, slamming the flashlight against other things, and Brody tells Clem that she can see how angry he gets when he's scared. Clementine can be apprehensive, understanding, or questioning on the situation. Blaming Marlin only makes him yell at Brody that he told her to stay quiet, to which she replies that she can't keep lying like this. Being understanding makes Marlin calm down slightly, and questioning prompts Brody to reveal how long it's been since they started this deal. After this, Marlin manages to calm himself down enough to apologize, and Clementine can either agree to keep it a secret, or want Marlin to tell everyone. If she tries to keep it a secret, Brody says no and that she can't live with this anymore before running up the stairs. In the other option, Marlin refuses to let Clem tell anyone and runs up instead. And so Clem gets locked down there for a bit with either Marlin or Brody, but since there's no walker, since nobody killed anybody, they're able to make it out pretty quickly. By that point, everyone is just starting to gather outside due to the noises they heard, and Marlin/Brody starts to reveal what's going on. In Marlin's case, he tells them not to believe Brody and Clem for what they're about to tell them, but in Brody's case, she's just stammering to explain the truth. Clementine then comes up and either defends Marlin to an extent from Brody's statements, or helps to expose him. Either way, the truth is coming out. It's just up to Clem whether she wants to be gentle or bitter to Marlin for it. Marlin takes the gun from AJ, starting to lose his mind over everything, but Clementine fights him off. After that, AJ guns him down like he did in canon, leaving the group horrified. Episode 2 starts out, and we see just how angry everyone gets with AJ, which is kind of understandable. They vote on whether to kick Clem and AJ out, but Brody's choice will be based on whether you tried to help her tell the truth in the last episode. I imagine it would also help if you were kind to her during the fishing trip. No matter what, they get voted out, forcing the duo to leave. Pretty much everything in the forest plays out the same, with Lily and Abel meeting Clem, AJ getting shot, and James helping them. They come back to the boarding school to help prep the gang for war, which Brody is terrified about. She starts anxiously flipping out on Clem, but comes to her senses if you've been favorable to her. If not, she just storms off. The preparations are put into place, and your last night before the battle can either be spent with Violet, Lewis, or you can try and make peace with Brody. Doing that won't lead to a romance like the other two, but it would basically reset any bad blood between the two of you, assuming you're not a jerk to her during this too. The battle with Lily and her group occurs, but not too much changes until the very end. Brody can help Clem after she's fallen from the balcony with Abel, or she can run off to help the others. It depends on your friendship. But an interesting divergence is created based on who you choose to save between Lewis and Violet. If you chose Violet, Brody will also save Lewis. But if you choose Lewis, Brody won't save Violet unless you convince Violet to reconcile her issues with Brody during the training, or if you went with Brody that night and befriended her. So you can only save one person, or you can save both. During episode 3, Brody tries to be more optimistic, but definitely fails if Clementine has been unkind to her. I could totally see her lashing out on how Clem's plan didn't succeed, even though they'd be far more screwed without her. But hopefully you're able to get Brody back in your good graces. And assuming you went with her that night and have been doing good with her, you'd be able to have a kiss option during the party. This would shock Brody, but she'd be really happy Clementine's there to ground her in reality and bring her out of her anxiety attacks. I like the idea of Brody being a romance option. It's just going to take a lot more work than Lewis or Violet, since they have way better connections to Clem, whereas Brody starts out in confrontation to Clem. Anyway, the kids head forward with the attack on the Delta using James's walker herd. Most of the fighting would happen the same, just with Brody getting locked up too. She'd likely be placed in a cell with Clem and whoever got captured, if anyone. If Violet was captured, she'd attack Brody, and Clem would have to help her, but would be stopped by Minerva. After Violet sees Minnie getting shot in the shoulder by Lewis, she'd stop fighting Brody, who decides to stay behind to reconcile with Violet here. If no one was captured, then Brody would just help save Clem from Minnie. Brody then chooses to stay and free everyone. Clementine fights Lily, and the rest of episode 3 plays out the same way. In episode 4, Violet wouldn't lose her sight no matter what, and if Brody stayed behind with Violet, she'd be the one who gets the burns after saving Violet from them. This puts the final nail in the coffin on Brody and Vi's reconciliation, which is pretty cool. After this, Lewis/Violet head off with Clem, AJ, and Ten, and this causes the same problems that happen in canon. You could say Brody's here too if she wasn't burned, but I don't see her changing too much. And she'd probably just get separated with Lewis/Violet/Ten anyway. So by the end, Clem and AJ return to the boarding school after Clem loses her leg, and we see our happy group. So Brody surviving does add a bit of added flavor, and saves Violet and Lewis from their terrible injuries, even taking them on herself in one version. But overall, not too much change. Big thank you to Ellie the Plug 2 for choosing to support the channel by becoming a member. I hope I did this what if justice for you. And if you want to have a chance to have your what if in its own video, feel free to join the rest of these lovely members. But as always, tell me if you liked this video, comment your requests for future videos, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.